if you're able to unite and make one strong community, you're unbreakable. Then your censorship can no longer be called censorship because now your voice is being heard 24/7. Welcome back to What Are You Saying, the realest podcast in the world, the people's podcast, where our listeners can not only learn and grow, but also feel seen and heard. I'm Osama.
My name's Mohammed.
Yo.
I guess it's been a long time. I don't know how we did it so smooth the last episode. I guess I'll continue. Uh, that's so funny. But yeah, welcome back to the Ways podcast. How are you doing today, Osama?
I'm good, bro. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning. Actually, I prayed the Hajjud, prayed for my boys and you and myself, obviously. And I'm still been awake. But alhamdulillah, I've been good, bro. Obviously, we got some reactions regarding the last podcast episode that we recorded. It was interesting. Honestly, I didn't expect the Zionist community to come out the way they did, to be honest with you, because we never get that much comments on our posts anyways. And in my head, I remember I was like, bro, and some of them were threats. So I'm not sure what you felt about that.
To be honest, I was expecting it, but that wave, that was not. Because the thing is, obviously, they're attacking and going back and forth with anyone that posts any type of content. And obviously, we're not the biggest podcast out there, so I didn't think it was like that much of a reaction. But alhamdulillah, everyone shared it. And once again, like you, I want to thank everyone for sharing the episode, their comments and feedback, especially our guests that came on. Please listen to the last episode, very informing. But to those, the Zionist community, once again, targeting us, our guest as well, just leaving nasty comments. It only speaks more about the injustice that's happening towards the Palestinians. And we have to say this, Osama. It's just like, it's a double standard. Because right now, myself, you, anyone else can lose their job, right or wrong, if you talk about any community. Whether it was based on religion, sex, identity, we all know that living in the West, there are certain groups you cannot attack because a violation of that could be loss in a job, school, and livelihood, right? But somehow, not the Jewish community, but the Zionist community is able to attack us, our personal lives, our friends, and whatsoever. And there seems to be no accountability or no standard hold like those other communities if they were attacked as well. So it kind of shows the hypocrisy in all this, right? So once again, we released the episode. Me and Osama are going to keep the episode. We're not going to delete it. And the last episode was very informing. It wasn't hate targeting. It was educational. It was informational. And it spoke about something that's happening right now about a group of marginalized people in the largest open-air prison in the world. And they are affected by an apartheid system. They're affected by settler colonialism. And right now, people are losing their lives based on something that shouldn't be happening in the first place. And whether you are Jewish, whether you do not like Palestinians, you cannot deny the fact that what's happening to Palestinians, forget the last 75 years, since October 7th, you cannot tell me that there isn't a better way of handling the situation. Because it doesn't make any sense in Ukraine a few months ago when everyone's saying like, no, we must uphold a ceasefire. But in Palestine, it's like, no, loss of civilians is part of war. Where is the fairness in this, right? Can you speak about, just recently, as far as like being attacked from the Zionist community and having to deal with it personally?
Honestly, we live in a world where the media will say, ironically, the people on social media are lying to you. What you see is not the truth. Like, we live in an era of censorship and disinformation. So it's kind of ironic, is like the people who are actually sending the truth are being called like liars, and obviously the liars are obviously being called truthful. And when I guess because we both have our what do you call it, like our Instagram's names in our bio, on our podcast bio, but obviously when you go to mine, you see the Palestinian flag. And if you know me really well, you do know that my mouth can get me in trouble, bro. If you get me going, I swear to God, bro, like I will say some stuff which could be hurtful again, but like if you attack my integrity, attack my family, attack my friends, or obviously my identity, it's RIP. And I think a lot of these guys, I was scared. I was just saying off camera to Mo that I was so scared I was gonna lose my Instagram account. And me and like Mo, we built some great connections, some great people. I'm like, there's no way I'm about to lose all of that and have to like go demand. Because obviously our guest last week, Susu, said she lost her TikTok account. She has over 100,000 followers. Now imagine you built that and you lost that completely. One of our friends from New York actually told me he had near 70,000 followers and he's completely banned. He can't even get his account back, which is insane. So, like, obviously, today's topic is about censorship and like how we're able to combat it and what we're able to do and what we're able to say. You know, obviously, censorship in Canada has been harder. Now, podcasts are also being censored and like with the new bill and like there's certain things you're not able to say or they're able to demonetize you, which is funny because I remember when Muhammad sent me the text. He's like, "Yo, did you see this?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, go to this post and like read it." I'm like, "No way." And even though like again, we're not a big podcast. Like I would say we were bigger internationally than we are like North America wise. But how I felt, I was like so stupid. It's funny how you guys like the designers community makes it sound like we're saying your lives don't matter. We're not saying that. We're saying that you need to also address the truth. People in Gaza are dying. Civilians should not be dying. Doesn't matter who you are. Civilians are dying, and you guys are making it sound like that it's okay to do it. And honestly, in my head, I'm like, dude, we're just addressing the truth. And you know, one of the biggest lessons I ever got told, you want to know if someone's wrong? It's the way they react. Their anger knows they're wrong. They were reacting in such an angry way or calling us baboons. That one dumb girl calling us baboons or like the other person calling us stupid and liars and like we're not spreading information. Isn't it ironic each time you post something on Instagram it gets demonetized? So who's lying? The people getting demonetized or the people spreading the lies and getting thousands of views?
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And the whole point about censorship is not a new thing. It's not a new idea. Yes, the way it might appear in society might be new, but throughout history, there's always been kingdoms, there's always been rulers, there's always been tyrants, there's always been dictators that always lived a life where they were able to reap the benefits. Meanwhile, the peasants, those who lived on a lower part of society, were slaves, workers, and did not enjoy anything. And out of this troubleness, out of this tiredness, you had revolutions, you had protests, you had strikes. And what did the rulers of those days do? As always, enforce punishment on those who did not listen. Did not listen to what? Did not listen to the rule. But is the rule, is it rooted in righteousness and fairness? Obviously not. And this is why, whatever part throughout history, whether it's the medieval ages, um, whether it's ancient Egypt, whatever part throughout history, you always saw that contrast between different parts of society, right? And we see it today. It's no different today. You have the upper, middle, and lower class. But certain countries are more afflicted than others. Most countries on the global south do not have a middle class, right? Um, that's why they don't say third world countries anymore, but developing countries now, right? And it's the same thing. Corruption happening. Corruption happens here, but it's more nuanced, right? It's not right in your face. There's different ways of trying to steal from the people, right? But we still see it on a daily basis. So now with this conflict with Israel and Palestine, the whole idea is, what do we talk about? What are we allowed to talk about? And how do you get penalized if you speak about something that go against the status quo? So at this moment, as of last night, as we know, it was breaking news that the last hospital, an Indonesian hospital, was bombed. It was targeted, it was bombed. And it's unfortunate hearing about this and seeing this and obviously the videos and the reactions. But why was that hospital targeted and why was that hospital bombed? Knowing that the people who live there, the people who do work on an endless basis, the last hospital that could give people service, tools to actually heal themselves in any way whatsoever, despite having no electricity, water, Wi-Fi, you name it, was targeted and bombed. So we could talk about the conflict since October 7th. We could talk about the amount of deaths that's happened. But if we talk about Palestinians, the history, the injustice, the amount of land lost, and the fact that they cannot have their own state, anything that has to do with the undeveloped parts of the Palestinian state and people, therefore, you are seen as a bad person. You are upholding terrorist activity and you are supporting a cause that is not good for humanity and society. Meanwhile, if you talk about the state of Israel and everything it's done well as far as pro-propaganda um, missions since how many decades ago, you are seen as someone that's developed, evolving. So this narrative alone, once again, like I said last episode, for those who might not know about the conflict, it's very confusing because it's just like, you see this everywhere. And how do I join about this conversation? How do I talk about this? I might not even like Muslims, or I might not have an Arab friend. So therefore, if the narrative is Palestinians are wrong and Israel people are right, therefore that's the game. But for those like yourself, myself, and others that might know about the truth and the nuances and want to speak out about, hey, there's more to the story, somehow explaining the more to the story aspect gets you in trouble. And why is that? And that's the whole point of censorship, because it's like you're not allowed to talk about something that's going to give the mass public the real truth. The real truth. Because if everyone in the world knows about what's happening right now to Palestinians and know how much they've suffered, forget since 1940 something or 1950 something, in the last 20 years, then people will realize something is wrong and accountability must happen top down. Because clearly the bottom up approach, people have been trying it, but it's been denounced, it's been rejected by heads of states. So it goes back, the rulers and tyrants of today, the heads of states, are doing the exact same thing. They are enforcing these restrictions, these laws, and they're using certain applications, apps, social media apps, that allows the propaganda narrative that Palestinians are just no good people and what they're fighting for is a waste of time to continue. And my question to you is, as a Palestinian, forget since October 7th, throughout your whole life, has censorship always been rooted in the Palestinian community? Like if anything happened as a group, are we supposed to talk about it, or do you just hold it to ourselves and just fight the good fight through God and stuff like that? Like how is censorship viewed in your community?
That is such a great question. And I think the way censorship is, I can speak about myself first and I can speak about the community. For me, I feel in the beginning, if I were to go back to when I was younger, you couldn't speak about Palestine because it was social media. It's also because social media now helps us a lot with like people filming videos, it going viral, and then you're able to have these like backup claims, like these objective claims saying, "Did you see that?" But when I was younger, I remember even when I was at school, and I remember in 2009, 8, there was like I think one of the first wars with Gaza and Israel, and I can remember vividly. A person in my class asks a question, "Oh, who do you support, Palestine or Palestine or like Israel on this?" And you know what the thing is in my head is people always want to use like that group there in Gaza and Israel. It's not that group there and Israel. It's Palestine versus Israel. It's always been Palestine versus Israel. I don't know where the narrative has changed over the years, and it's made me feel as if like I'm born in that I'm not born in that country, but I'm from that country, and I don't know why I wasn't able ever to speak out. I never felt comfortable to speak out until for a while, dude. And I could tell you even a lot of Muslims were scared to speak out. Even around the Arab Revolution in 2011, when I guess the Middle East was booming, people were still scared. It's like, do you support your government? Do you do this? You're from there? Ooh, like, they start making you feel bad as if like you're able to pick where you were born. If I talk about the community, I think the community feels safer now to speak out more, just because with the whole Freedom of Right Act, a lot of the grandkids and kids are like, who have big platforms, who are successful, they're like, we don't care if we lose our jobs, we don't care what's going to happen, like we're standing up for our right. And I do think there's a lot of censorship, and you can even see it. Yesterday there was a video on CNN of, I think it was in Congress, of these non-Muslims, non-Arabs who are in Congress and like fighting for the people in Gaza, right? Because they themselves can tell that people like Palestinians and Arabs are being censored. And the thing is, the media also portrays it to be a Muslim problem. It's obviously not a Muslim problem. Me and you have a friend who's Palestinian, who's Christian, and I've spoken to her recently. She told me that, yo, be careful. She's like, she's upset because she feels her voice is silenced. For me, I feel like my friends who are Christian Palestinian are more silenced than I am because the media portrays it as is, oh, this is a Muslim problem, you know, but oh, the people that bombed the church are jihadists. What? I'm like, have you ever been to Palestine? The Christians and Muslims get along really, really well. But I said this last time in the episode, when you hear something, you go research about it. Like, if you don't just believe what the media says because they're reading off a teleprompter. They're not reading. They're not doing their own information. This is the scary part, by the way. Is I can tell you, and our audio engineer, for example, did you hear that World War III is gonna happen? And you believe me, but without doing your research, you'd be like, you think I'm the smartest guy ever. But if you go do your research, you'd be like, man, what is this guy talking about? He misread it. He misread it. He doesn't know what he's speaking about. Having key information is really important. And the government likes to censor people because they know what they're doing. They're silencing you. They're telling, if you don't do this, this will happen to you. The biggest example is the pandemic. You know this. At one point, they said, what did they say? If you don't get your vaccine, you can't go to sport arenas, you can't go to theaters, you can't go to malls, you can't work. A year and a half goes by. What happens? Oh, you never needed it. We never said that. They play the narrative. They play the man. They played us. So I have a question for you. In 100 years from now, so people are gonna be talking about this moment and how they said people should have actually supported Palestine.
Can I just jump in here?
Yeah, of course.
Censorship silences us. And that's how I feel censorship is very dangerous to me. Like, I feel silenced all the time. And I feel like we, as like the public, not just Muslims, not just Christians, I'm talking about how everybody is being silenced when they're talking about Palestinians, when we're trying to be the voices of Palestinians, the people in Gaza, the people who are being tortured and killed and decapitated and literally silenced to death. And we out here are trying to share, protest, and this is how we're being silenced. So when I feel silenced on my page, when I'm being, okay, usually I get 800, 900 views on my story. And then when I post about Palestine and it gets to like 70, I'm like, this is me being silenced right here. I am trying to speak up for the people that are literally being silenced to death. So I feel like we're being controlled. We are we are helpless to the people that really need a voice. So that's why I still feel like you should share, you should speak up. And that's why protests are different than sharing on social media. Like, you're there physically, where they can't really uh change your algorithm and control your social media and deactivate it and delete it and whatever, block it and that. So it is frustrating. It's so frustrating at this time because, yeah, you're talking to Zionists that really can't shut up about it, and they're like, Americans are with us, everybody's with us, all important companies are with us, so you need to shut up about whatever you're talking about Palestine, blah 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 blah. Like, that's basically what they're trying to say. And even though if you're fighting back, if you're commenting back, they'll do whatever to silence you. And I get it. I get your frustration. I understand it. Because literally everybody in power is doing nothing, absolutely nothing to fix the issue.
You bring up a lot of valid points. I actually have a question for you. Because you're also Palestinian,
Yes.
when you were younger, did you, like, 'cause the same way Mo asked me, like in terms of me being central, do you feel like when you were younger, you had a harder time speaking about Palestine?
Yeah. I feel like the world was against us for such a long time. A long, long ass time. The world was against us. And I feel like even when I was younger, there was nothing I could do. You know, in my head, I'm like, there's nothing I could do. There's no point of speaking up. There's no point of um, saying my opinion about where I come from. Yes, I was born and raised in Canada, um, but like my blood is Palestini. When I was younger, I was definitely uh, not speaking up about my home country. And it's sad, but it's the truth. Like, you felt helpless when you were younger. You're like, there's no point of saying what you need to say, how you feel.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful points. Regarding the Piers Morgan, the one thing that he said that's very funny to me is just like the attack or the crime committed from Hamas on October 7th was the worst thing I've ever seen in the last 50 years. And I'm like,
Yeah.
there is no way he's telling me that that attack alone is the worst attack that's been done in the past 50 years. Does not account for the Iraq invasion or the Rwandan genocide. There's been so many incidents in the past 50 years that you could account for
Hmm.
where way more civilians, way more types of terror have been done. Um, so yeah, I just think that's another way of just fueling the narrative, obviously, of just Palestinians and their suffrage not being a humanity type of issue. Number two, about your original question, 100 years from now, number one, regarding me, um, if my lineage has the technology, wherewithal, and accessibility to trace back and see everything as it is right now, the last thing I want them is to see my position and action and to think that I was a coward. So for me, it's just like standing up, making a video, talking with others, allowing others to share the story, give information, sharing the content, plus donating as well, whatever way possible, shows that we are helping because we are an ummah, right? Number two, people will talk about this, but as always, it's just the classic, like I said in the beginning, the tyrant versus those who do not have power, right? And the lesson has always been the same. Those who are in power thought that they could use their tools and tactics to hurt those, but in the end, they'll rise. The other group will still rise. Despite everything that's happening right now, Muslims are still there. Palestinians, Christians are still there. Palestinians overall are still there, no matter what's going on, right? So it's just going to be a classic tale. Like, no matter what happened, no matter the technology and the ways that people are able to connect and attack others and to target certain hospitals, buildings, kids, like the amount of civilians in Gaza alone, at least like 40% or 45% are children and women alone. Um, so it's just one of those things. It's going to be a question 100 years from now. Why is that the case? And knowing the technology they have, because actually be exposed for what was really possessed as far as this timeline, why didn't
Yeah.
they do the right thing? It always goes back to doing the right thing. My dad always told me, no matter what, always do the right thing. But sometimes people might not do it because of their own interest. And that can involve money, that can involve status, fame, prestige, um, alliances. These are things that will make someone not want to help someone and instead kill the person, let the person suffer to death, knowing that they have the ability to
Hmm.
really create resolution and peace and change. So people don't want to do the right thing, and that's just a moral compass issue. On top of that, if they're not spiritual and they have no religion as well, that makes it even worse. So there's a lot of dynamics that goes into people not helping others and allows people to just, allows the head of state to really coming into a country knowing that they can hear the bombs and they're probably in on the plans and they're seeing live footage of people dying and everything thousands of feet away, but still will make a speech to their nation saying that we're winning the war and that we're going to end it once and for all, knowing the truth. So that's where it is right now.
I think it's really scary to think that we're at a point where you really cannot speak your mind. And the two things which are most beloved by people who have money are control and power. You having control means you could do whatever you want, especially because if you instill fear into people, if you, like, again, I'm gonna use the pandemic example again. If you do this, you will die. You will go to jail. Then you'd be like, bro, I don't want to go to jail. I got a career. If you speak about Palestine, you are considered on a watch list or whatever. They know what they're doing. It's not easy to build fear in anybody. You know, I can build fear amongst my friends because you want to like showcase dominance. You want to showcase power. Having power comes first because when you have power, you're able to control the narrative. Notice, for example, one time a long time ago, I'm not sure if you remember this, Mo. I said the truth seeker. I think I said that the truth speakers. I'm just paraphrasing here. The truth speakers are hidden, and the liars are like being exposed. So we're seeing a lot of the signs of Judgment Day is like, well, I guess the minor signs per se are there's a lot of people in power who are not truth telling, and you see that currently, where a lot of people are spreading lies, like with the 40 decapitated babies, which is a lie, and all these like people, all these Zionists reading scripts word by word, trying to like make Palestinians, and when they make it a Muslim thing, the first thing goes in your head is like all the extremist groups who have nothing to do with Islam. So you're like, oh, that's true. No, it's not. When you're talking about an innocent life, like a 4 or 5 year old, I saw a girl. Oh man, what's her name? She was talking about she lost her 2 year old cousin, family member in the war. No, there was no warning, there was no whatever. Also, when you talk about the punishment, and when you talk about the punishment of the Palestinians and what they've been going through, the collective punishment that they've been going through, there's no water, there's no electricity, there's no Wi-Fi for them to connect with their families. So how are you? If this is Gaza, this is supposed to be Palestinian territory. Why are you inside of it? Get out. This is our territory. So in my head, it makes no sense how the same people saying we don't want Gaza are still fighting to kick people out. If you don't want Gaza, why are you there? I really do think, just to add on to Nisreen's point, our amazing audio engineer's point, she said something about like standing up and like uniting. I do think if you do have a platform and you're big, shout out other small creators. Make yourself a strong ummah. Because I'll tell you, there's people who have small platforms and medium platforms, big platforms, but if you're able to unite and make one strong community, you're unbreakable. Then your censorship can no longer be called censorship because now your voice is being heard 24/7. For me, Mo, yes, we don't have the biggest platform, and inshallah one day we will. But I can tell you one thing is when we do speak truth. That's why we always start the podcast by saying we're the realest podcast and we're the people's podcast. We don't care about being the greatest podcast. We care about being real and authentic. So when you see us in person, you know we're the same people. For me, the biggest thing is when you see me in person that you know I'm gonna say the same things I'll say on social media, on the podcast, and in reality. But my only advice is for people when it comes to censorship is to avoid that. Is also speak about other people's problems. So if for example, if obviously Afghanistan had earthquakes, share Afghanistan's earthquakes. If something happened in Lebanon, something happened in Ghana, something happened in Pakistan, talk about that. Because then when you educate yourself in other communities and you're there for other communities, they'll be able to be there for you. I had friends who texted me, he's like, hey, Osama, can you let us know more about the Palestinian situation? I let them know. Again, it's obviously different like angles from different people, but I think my last thing is just to wrap up my point here is censorship is scary. So be strong, be successful, so no one can ever silence you. Because Nassim just said, our audio engineer just said that, and even I said, when we were younger, it was sucked. We couldn't speak about Palestine. It felt as if our identity was taken away. Where are you from? Pakistan? No. Palestine. It would always mind boggle me, bro. Like, who doesn't know Palestine? Because I honestly didn't. I knew obviously there were like Jews who exist, but I never knew Zionists as a kid. It's until I remember one time, and I'll share this story quick. I was at Swiss Chalet, and I remember I was a youth, and I asked my dad, I'm like, yo, what's this country? Because I saw a flag I never recognized in my life, and it's obviously it was Israel's flag. And I'm like, where do I put this? Because I'm like, Dad, it doesn't say Palestine here, and they're saying this is like Israel. And he's like, no, those are like, that's not a country. It's not a country. And I didn't understand that. So in my head, I was so confused as a kid. That's how I found out about Israel, bro. When I was a youth, I was at Swiss Chalet and Eid, ironically enough. But again, man, free Palestine, and like, may Allah make us successful so we can all speak up for Palestine and never go down.
Amazing points once again. And I guess the final thing I would say, to be honest, is just like, to the Zionists, you guys are vultures. Vultures, like not just any vultures, the most ugliest of vultures. Like, have you seen vultures in the nighttime? They're so ugly. Like, it's really disgusting, to be honest.
They're not cute. They're not cute.
No wonder that they eat anything, even humans. Vultures are disgusting. People, like, search up vultures. And when you look at them, look at their face and the creation, and then people who are Zionists, look at their face as well. You'll see resemblance. There's something along the family tree that's connected. I just have to put that out there because they're obviously the most ugliest.
They are vultures,
vultures, bloodsuckers, you know?
Bats,
Yeah,
baboons.
yeah,
These guys
everything,
are actually called
everything.
baboons.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they, like, take human blood and just eat it and just put some sugar on it and stuff, right? That's their Kool-Aid. But once again, the fight is going to be long. It might continue past our lifetime. Who knows? Obviously, we want it to end now, and we want Palestinians to have what was once theirs, right? Just do right by them. That's it. Whatever the borders were before Jewish people came, give them back. If not, figure out a solution, but do right by them because they deserve it. They truly deserve it. Anything else is a slap on the face. So whatever the land possession is right now, it doesn't make any sense to give them that amount of space. Disconnected all over parts of Israel. Do right by them and just do the right things. Very simple. If not, we know why you don't want to do that. It's because of this self-interest. And obviously you do not want to see these people uplifted and in power. And we can't stand for that and we won't accept that. Those who are in power, who do wrong, never seem to see the result on the brightest of days.
Hey man, I just want to say one last thing just to end off. There's a hadith that always sticks to my head, and Allah habba abda ibtala. If Allah loves you, He'll test you. So just know that the Palestinians have the strongest test, and the fact that they die shuhada, which is like martyrs, which is amazing. So they're warriors, and if there's one thing that this Palestinian struggle can teach you is have faith in Allah. Nothing goes. If you know death is not the end game, you're a winner. So just remember that. Keep praying for the Palestinians. Keep praying for our Muslim Ummah, not only Palestinians. There's Afghanistans, Ghanaians, Nigerians, Lebanese, Syrians, Jordanians, Yemenis. All of them, like they're still part of the Ummah. They deserve as much respect. And remember that when Allah tests you, gives you the hardest test, there's amazing rewards. You know, just remember, inna ma'al usra yusra. And with that, peace. You guys thought we were done? I don't think so. We still gotta wrap it up. Please follow me at Kusa300. Follow my co-host Muhammad at Muhammad.global. Make sure to follow our page at Instagram. Also, make sure to subscribe to all our platforms. We drop every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Thank you. We'll see you next week.